Hi, I'm Dina Lee. Today we're going to look at the case study that I call the student athlete, the school, and the principal. In this case study, the sophomore student athlete Miguel, who is Hispanic, was hurt in a Friday night football game. He was an engaged student who wanted to further his education, and he wanted to attend college, and he took college pathway courses. Miguel received a spinal injury diagnosis while he was after his injury while he was playing, and he was paralyzed. After the medical release, the school said he could return to school. Upon his release, there was a pre-meeting with the parent and the counselor, and no accommodations or modifications were mentioned. After this meeting, they just said he could come right back to school. Miguel returned to school, and they held a pep assembly in his honor. The counselor changed his schedule upon the return right after the pep assembly and said that he could no longer take his biology course, that he needed to maintain his college pathway, and he could take the other science class that contained less rigor due to accessibility in the building. In the evening, he went home. He told his parents about this. They requested a meeting with me, Principal Lee, demanding to have his class changed back, and invited the family's attorney to the meeting, where the attorney mentioned Section 504 and FAPE. So what are the legal and ethical issues that have been identified so far in this case study? Did anyone contact the family about the accident happening on the school grounds? Did they talk about the school's accident injury policy to help the family with the medical pieces of this? Did they talk to the parent in their first language? It's a Hispanic family. Are they native English speakers, or are they native Spanish speakers? Did the school talk with them that way? When Miguel returned to school without a plan, they didn't know what he was going to do for his education, how he was going to access the building physically, and what his daily schedule would look like. The school just welcomed him in with open arms to do school the way he normally did. And then, did anybody talk with him about having the assembly in his honor upon his immediate return? Did they discuss that he may not be ready to put himself out there publicly yet? Did Counselor Guzman met with the mother without the school principal, myself, and the nurse, and there was no plan that we know of that was created? Who made the decision to change his schedule? Why wasn't Principal Lee contacted and consulted in this? Was the parent consulted in this? That's something that I'm going to have to find out from Counselor Guzman. When an additional meeting was held with the family, the dad brought along an attorney who discussed the 504 and FAPE with myself. What do I need to do with that? What should I do? Those are ethical and legal issues. Why wasn't stakeholders invited to this meeting with the counselor and the parent? There was no nurse, there was no social worker, no district representative, no 504 team member. What came out of this meeting that came from the counselor and the parents? No information was ever shared. What about when the parents met with the attorney? What came out of that? None of that information was shared either. So a quick synthesization, just a quick what is going on with this story is a Hispanic student athlete was hurt during a game. Prior to his returning to school, his mother met with the school counselor. Upon Miguel's return to school with wheelchair assistance, an assembly was held in his honor. His class schedule was changed, removing him from college pathway courses without parental or student knowledge. Some facts that we know: the people who are involved is Miguel's parents, Counselor Guzman, Principal Lee, myself, the biology teacher, the Hernandez family attorney, and Dr. Harvey, the superintendent. Also the students and his friends, Miguel's friends. The place where is this all taking place at is Nottingham High School. It's in the town of Dover. The high school serves 3,200 students, and the schools have been updated to building codes, but not ADA accessible. It's a public high school, the Nottingham High School. and Miguel is a sophomore. He's of Hispanic heritage, and a 504 could be offered for him, and FAPE would be an important piece to this puzzle. How do we review and prioritize information about this case? We need to look at who would be hurt from the situation. This is a prime opportunity for us to look at student first or student-centered decisions. And if we can make every decision based on Miguel's best interest, that would show that we're doing right by Miguel. So Miguel is the most important piece. Principal Lee, the counselor Guzman, the Hernandez family, the 504 team, and the biology teacher, along with the attorney and the district superintendent. Who has a stake in this? All of the ones mentioned just above, plus the school district. Were all the stakeholders consulted? No. Miguel wasn't consulted. Principal Lee wasn't consulted. The 504 team was not consulted. The Hernandez family wasn't consulted. And Dr. Harvey, the superintendent, was not consulted. So what needs to be researched? What do we need to change? What should we do different? Or where do we need to gather more information from? We need to know Miguel's prognosis. So we need to get a release of information from Miguel's doctor so we can find out what his exact abilities are and what they're not. We also need to find out what recommendations the doctors have with how he can maneuver and go through his day. We need to meet with the 504 team and gather information with what we get from the doctor. His biology teacher, we need to talk with them. Can they teach him somewhere else in the building? Are they willing to move? What can we do? What's the district plan when something like this happens? What's the building level plan when something like this happens? Myself, as the principal or building leader, I need to know what I need to do. Do I, Principal Lee, know enough to make a decision at this very moment? No. All I can do is gather information to help develop and make the best plan. So what are some options that I could do? What would I do? At this moment, I would gather more information from all the stakeholders. I'd find out from from Counselor Guzman what she spoke about with Miguel's mom. I would share that information with Dr. Harvey, the district superintendent, and I would also ask to see if we needed to have district level counsel because the parents brought counsel in. And so you always, if a parent brings counsel in, you want to make sure that the district is aware of that. I would apologize to the Hernandez family and parents about the schedule change, and I would ask the parents if there was time that I could gather some more information about what exactly happened. Get information from them, get information from Counselor Guzman, and let them know that this would take a day, maybe two, and then tell them that I'd like to develop a plan, review the plan with the district stakeholders, which are the 504 team, the district superintendent, the district council if they're there, and then bring this information back to the parents and Miguel, the student, because nowhere was he consulted in any of this. He was just told that all of this was going to happen to him. I would have a conversation with the counselor, Ms. Guzman, and talk about their role in this process and what could have been done to change it for next time. I would use some of the skills that we have learned to hey, you did a great job advocating for this student. One thing that is, when we talk about something of this level and magnitude, myself as the principal need to be involved in the conversations and the planning. So please, just next time, make sure that you invite me to that meeting. And if I'm not able to come, I will give you some key answers or questions that we need to make sure that we have answered. And I would just reiterate with Counselor Guzman that, you haven't experienced this before, so you don't understand that this could have happened, and just let them know that, mistakes happen. It's what we do after those mistakes that make us the person, the organization that we are. The options, other things that I would consider is, could Miguel attend class virtually during this time period for this day or two while we're developing this plan? Could his class be moved to an area of building where he has access to it? Or should I just do nothing? Should nothing be done? Should I ignore everything that's happening? One of the things, should I just quit my job because this is hard and difficult? And it's not something that I would want to do and deal with at this moment. So those are all considerations that I could look at. Then I would evaluate those options. I'd use information that we have access to us. Using the 8 steps for effective decision making, I would review information, gather additional information, list the options, include team members in a discussion, Dr. Harvey, the superintendent, the 504 team, the parent, the biology teacher, the student, and make decisions effectively. I'd communicate with parents, and I would train staff and hire legal counsel what was needed. I would communicate that, hey, we are super sorry about how this took place. We didn't mean for it to happen this way. This is what we're going to do to make it right for your student. I would make sure that the counselor and the office staff were trained to notify me of things that were going on in the building, and then hire the legal counsel as needed. And I would also notify the district superintendent or the people above me to let them know that these things are happening. I would take responsibility for my role in the situation as the building leader, that I am sorry that I didn't know that this conversation happened and that you and Ms. Guzman came up with this plan or the lack of plan. I would connect with Counselor Guzman about their mistake, as I had said before, and use that professional language and offer some professional development for how we could make sure this didn't happen again. I'd create an inclusive environment for Miguel, giving him access to his education to learn alongside his peers and help develop his confidence, because this is a huge change for him, being a student in a wheelchair now versus the star athlete. And how are we going to meet his needs, both educationally and social emotionally as well? So let's choose the best option. Upon leaving the meeting with the Hernandez family and their attorney, I would consult with Superintendent Dr. Harvey immediately. I would continue to gather information by getting that release of information for medical knowledge, speak with the counselor again, and speak with the biology teacher to see how we can help build a plan for Miguel. And then I would consult the 504 team. We'd develop a plan, present this information to the students, see if we can implement it. And then finally, we would reevaluate the plan as his healing process continued. When we implement this plan that we just discussed, we'd have that open communication with parents. They are a part of the team, and they would maintain opinions, ideas, and knowledge because they do have a background knowledge about their son, Miguel. We would present a 504 plan where Miguel would continue in his biology class, and he'd be able to continue because we're moving that class down to an area of the building where it's accessible to him, and we'd make sure that all of his classes were accessible to him and he could maintain educational rigor that he needed. We would convey to the parents our most sincerest apology due to not knowing that the schedule change had occurred, and assure them that we have a plan in place that this would not happen again, and that he would still continue to get to take the classes that meet his level of rigor. We would continue to monitor progress and accessibility for Miguel throughout the building and throughout his healing process. And that is my presentation of what we would do. Thank you.